My name is Shay, and in May 2025, I left the US to go stay temporarily in Mexico. I'll be here until March 2026, and then I'll be wandering in other countries around the globe for 3 months at a time. I am American, and I left the country at a time when things are very, very tense politically, not only at home, but between my home country and many other places around the world. Not only that, I entered the country during the middle of President Trump's stated intention to round up and deport millions of illegal immigrants living within the US. People have been saying for years, we went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan when I was a teenager, and people have been saying for years, people hate Americans. You know, they recommend you put a Canadian flag on your backpack, which apparently Canadians don't like that. Not gonna lie, I find that pretty hilarious. So I am in Mexico at maybe like the hottest, most contentious point of America's foreign relations. I mean, easily in 20 years, maybe longer. So I know that this is a thing that a lot of people thinking about traveling either short-term or long-term outside of the US will worry about. The question is, are those concerns justified? The answer, honestly, is a bit of a mixed bag. Let me break down my experience for you as someone who's been living in Mexico for about 6 weeks now. So first of all, I'm in Santiago de Querétaro in the state of Querétaro. It's just north of Mexico City, up in the mountains. This is definitely, my location, I am positive, is skewing my perception. So I just want to call it out. But the reason why is that this is not a huge center of Western tourism. The saturation of people who speak English, I found, is actually higher than I expected. But this isn't on the beach. This isn't a resort location. I acknowledge this to make clear that there is a possibility that places that have a higher saturation of English-speaking tourists, Americans in particular, may have a more contentious view of Americans because they deal with us more often. All that being said, the people here have been lovely. Up one side and down the other. They're kind, they're generous, they're patient with my gringo ass who does not speak Spanish. I have not in any way been made to feel anything but welcome since I've been here. I've spoken with some locals, and in general, in Mexico, they are starting to really feel the bleed of the way that the American cost of living crisis is affecting them. I was here for less than a week before I was called a gentrificador on the internet. Unpopular opinion alert, I don't give a fuck, okay? I don't give a fuck, it's not my problem. I can go anywhere that I'm legally allowed to go. I can stay anywhere I want to for as long as I'm legally allowed. Anywhere you go on earth, you're going to find class envy. You're gonna find people who are blaming others for their problems. And it doesn't really bother me at all. But not everybody is the dead-eyed sociopathic husk that I am. If you care about things like gentrification and you want to travel, then go live in undesirable parts of town. Put your money where your mouth is and come and contribute your Western dollars to elevating this place and not displacing whatever vulnerable, I don't care. Now, here's one critical distinction to be aware of. The only reason that I have even been exposed to these things at all is the fact that I am publishing on the internet about how to live abroad, how to move to Mexico. And so I am putting myself in the line of fire. So if, like me, you don't really care and you don't view it as your responsibility to solve the world's problems, but you are more susceptible to peer pressure than I am, or you have a deeper need to be liked than I do, whereas I am nourished by hatred, then it is very easy for you to just be blissfully detached from this entire conversation. Unless you're publishing on a public channel where you're trying to get your content in front of strangers, as I am, then you're not going to be a part of that conversation, and that conversation is not going to land itself at your doorstep. And even if you are going to publish and that vitriol finds its way to your doorstep, you don't have to be like me and taunt those commenters as the impotent losers that they are. If you're an American traveling abroad and you're worried about what perceptions of our government is going to do to create unsafe or unpleasant situations for you, then it's pretty simple. Just downplay it. You don't need to hide, but you don't need to announce that you're an American everywhere you go. You certainly don't need to wear your fucking MAGA hat or your American flag t-shirt with the wolf howling at the moon. You don't have to do those things. Now, here is an incredibly important piece of etiquette that I feel all immigrants and tourists and travelers of all kinds in all countries should respect. Stay out of the fucking politics of the local country. It's not your business. If you're a feminist and you don't like how women are treated in country X, Y, or Z, then don't go to those places. This is not your home. You are a guest. And a guest... gracias. And if you are a guest in somebody's home and you start telling them how they should live their lives, how they should arrange their living room, about the right way to do dishes in their kitchen, then you are an asshole. Have some humility and recognize when it's not your place to make your opinion known. I understand that politics has become this all-encompassing team sport back in the US, and I'm a very politically activated person. I have been since I was a teenager. So I'm not speaking as somebody who is disinterested in the topic. I'm saying that there is a time and a place. If you want to make change politically, go home and cast your ballot. It's coming to Mexico, going to Eurasia, going wherever. Eastern Europe, doesn't matter. Those are not your homes, and you have no right to inject your opinions into their lives. So do whatever you want, I guess, but if you're worried about being hated as an American, have some fucking humility and know when to keep your mouth shut. Just remember, at the end of the day, there are assholes everywhere. If somebody decides to have a problem with you, it's just going to happen. There's not going to be any amount of proactive prevention that you can wage to stop people from ever disliking you. If there's one last piece of advice that I could close with as a dead-eyed sociopathic husk, it's that you should just stop worrying about it. There are worse things in the world than random strangers that you don't know disliking you. So go out, travel, explore, have fun, be polite, be humble and gracious, and any country you go to, anywhere, the vast majority of people are going to be totally cool. I spoke about the fact that I do not speak Spanish and I live in Mexico at length in my last vlog. If you don't speak the language and that's something you're worrying about, watching this will give you some practical tips and things to consider to be able to make that process as smooth as possible. So you can check that out here.